It is a freeing feeling, I will tell you. It's been like 3 or 4 years since I did that massive declutter, and I've been living as a minimalist since. And those lessons and takeaways, they still stick with me now. In this video, I wanted to talk about how becoming a minimalist completely changed my life. So I became a minimalist a few years ago now. I want to say going on 4 years. But before that, I was genuinely like a hoarder, and I don't use that term lightly. I was scared to throw anything out ever. Basically, any gift I received, anything I bought, anything that came into my home, I wanted to keep, and I was scared to throw out. I think it had to do with the fact that I'm a very empathetic person. So like I can remember when I was a kid, I would almost like assign feelings to inanimate objects, and it kind of just like carried into adulthood. Like I didn't want to hurt the feelings of the items that I wanted to get rid of, basically. But that all changed when I went through a pretty messy breakup and I had to leave Montreal in a hurry. So all of my stuff from my apartment and my chalet in the country, which was like packed to the gills, went into 2 storage lockers. And I had no way to transport all of that stuff from Montreal to my hometown, and especially not from Montreal to Istanbul. So that kind of set me on a journey of having to change my mindset and wrap my head around the fact that I couldn't keep everything that I had been collecting for basically all of my 20s. And I knew that when I started decluttering, I would see some changes, but I didn't expect to see the amount of changes that I actually went through when I decided to make the switch from basically hoarder to minimalist. So I'm going to walk you through those changes, and hopefully this will inspire you to start your own decluttering journey and minimalism journey, because I swear it's the best. So let's get into it. So the first one is that I learned to trust myself, and I learned that I can do hard things. If you had have asked me 5 years ago even if I would ever become a minimalist, I probably would have laughed and told you that that would be impossible for me. But I did always want a more minimalist house. Like I was always jealous of my friends whose houses seemed like effortlessly curated, and I never really understood that it was just because they were more intentional with the things that they bring into their house. But yeah, so being able to make that switch and declutter at the extent that I did made me realize that my personality and my tendencies are not set in stone, and I'm able to grow and evolve when life requires it. And I feel like that really stuck with me even now. The second one is that I'm way less stressed out. Even when I was deep into my hoarder maximalist phase and I was trying not to think about how it might be a problem, it's like even when I moved stuff to the chalet in the country, even when I put stuff in the basement storage locker, it's like even though it was out of sight, the stress of it still lived rent-free in my mind. And not having, you know, like storage lockers or additional houses worth of stuff, it frees up so much mental space, and it gives me a sense of calm that doesn't even have to do with like my environment. It's just like knowing that I don't have to deal with that one day, or knowing that like somebody else won't have to deal with my stuff one day. It's such a liberating feeling. And the next one is that my minimalist mindset kind of snowballed into my financial mindset as well. I do feel like my decluttering journey and my debt payoff journey were around the same time. I honestly couldn't even tell you which one came first, but they definitely played off of each other, and leaning into both at the same time, I think made a big difference in sticking to my financial goals and paying off debt faster. I feel like it was a twofold situation where I realized I could live with less, and therefore I didn't have to make as much money as I thought for my lifetime to be happy. And then on the other hand, because I was shopping less, because I was trying to pay off debt, I didn't have new things coming in all the time. And eventually I just found myself happy with the things that I had. So I kicked the shopping addiction, both for the fact that I wanted to live minimally and also for the fact that I needed to pay off this tax debt that I got in because I was shopping too much. And I do really feel like that mindset shift has changed the way that I plan for my future. So because I live frugally and also live minimally, there's more kind of leeway for me to explore career pivots, for example, or working freelance, or even working part-time sometimes instead of working full-time. I feel like because I understand that I fundamentally don't need as much stuff as I thought, and I don't need as much kind of luxury stuff as I thought, that I can plan for my retirement and later in life without needing, like, for example, it might sound strange to some people, but I would really be happy living in a studio apartment like my whole life. I find it really comfortable, and that's just one example. Like, I don't have a dream of owning a big house, and because of stuff like that, I don't need to push myself to make like a multiple six-figure income because I don't feel like I need that to be happy. Whereas before, I was trying to plot how I could work to afford like business class flights or like multiple properties around the world, which is like, they were all kind of like pipe dreams, but still, like, that's where my mind was at in terms of what I thought would make me happy. And kind of on the same token, I also feel like living minimally has made me more critical. I'm more of a critical thinker in that I don't buy into trends. I don't buy into marketing as much as I used to. Like, I admit that sometimes I still will get taken by a trend, but it's definitely not anything like it was before. Like, I do feel as though when I was in my maximalist era, if there was anything that was trending, I could convince myself that I needed it or wanted it just because I saw it over and over and over, especially on social media. But now I honestly just turn a blind eye to those things. I never feel like I'm missing out when I'm not buying into trends. And that could have something to do with getting older as well. Like, I was in my 20s when I was buying into these trends. Now I'm in my 30s. But I do think that it has mostly to do with my minimalist mindset and just having a more critical eye for trends. And the next one is that I've made more space for hobbies than I did before. I feel like this is not obvious, but when you have a shopping addiction, or when you live as a maximalist and you really love following the trend cycle, so much of your time goes into shopping or looking for things online that you want, shopping in real life, looking for things that you want, reading about trends, like planning the next thing that you're going to buy, just scrolling and like seeing if there's anything on like the Zara website that jumps out at you that you want, shopping sales, etc. And when you eliminate that from your day, it's actually kind of disturbing how much extra time you have in your day. So since becoming a minimalist, I've picked up a ton of hobbies that I never would have if I kind of didn't give up shopping as my main hobby. So for example, like, I took Turkish lessons. I'm currently taking French lessons. I learned to swim at the ripe age of 31. I also learned to drive at the age of 31. I got really into fitness. Before I became a minimalist, I would like have a very meager attempt at going to the gym. Now I go to the gym or work out like 3 to 4 times a week probably. I also got really into taking out books at the library. I got more into building good friendships with my friends and building community. I just feel like I have been able to make the time and the headspace for so many things that are way more fulfilling than shopping and looking for sales and trends ever was. The next one is that living minimally has really made it easier for me to streamline my apartment and keep it clean. So I've mentioned this in other videos. Even though I identify as a minimalist, I don't necessarily identify as a particularly clean and tidy person. I'm definitely somebody that allows little piles of things to add up, or like, I don't know, like not organizing my stuff in the very best way. And the fact that I have fewer items, it actually means that maybe I'm romanticizing it a little bit, but it's like my little clutter it's like almost like a curated mess because I know everything that is cluttering up my space. And when I do deep clean, which I do, I'm not saying that I don't clean my apartment. I clean my apartment every Sunday. But it's so fast. It takes like less than an hour for like my week over week clean and less than 2 hours for a deep clean, which is amazing. Like before, when I had my maximalist apartment that was full of my clutter, it would be like full weekends when I would have to do a deep clean, because it's just like you're moving piles of stuff, like you're moving stuff around constantly to get to the mess. And now it's just like so streamlined and easy, and I feel like even with my kind of messy tendencies, my apartment still feels clean most of the time. So the next one is that I feel more grateful and less jealousy overall. I think owning less things just makes you feel more appreciation for the things that you do own. And I feel like everything that I've chosen to keep in my apartment is something that I love. And I don't know, I think when you only have like a couple, like one or a couple of a certain item, it's like you just have more care for it. Like you take care of your things better, you're more grateful to have them. And then also on the jealousy front, I feel like it was like two different forms of jealousy basically. So I was jealous of my friends, as I mentioned, who had very curated and streamlined houses, which now I have because I've become a minimalist and I'm better at discerning what comes in and goes out of my apartment. But then I was also jealous of people posting things on social media that I couldn't easily have. So like designer bags or like first class travel, all of these things I thought were truly aspirational and signs of success. And I tried to get them. I went into credit card debt trying to get these things. But now when I see stuff like that on social media, I'm not jealous of it anymore. There's pretty much nothing, like no luxury trip, no item that could make me jealous, which is a really good feeling because I do feel like I compared myself to others with like physical items and consumerism and stuff like that. I always was kind of like salty that I couldn't easily afford the things that they could. But now I feel like I'm in a place where the only thing that I want is to work on myself. And I feel grateful that that's where my headspace is. But yeah. And the last one is that it's truly a freeing feeling to not have all of this stuff as baggage. Like, especially as somebody who, I'm single, I've lived abroad, I'd like to live abroad again, I've lived across Canada, like being more mobile and enjoying that kind of lifestyle is really, really hard when you have storage lockers worth of stuff. When I was living in Istanbul, for example, when I first moved, I still hadn't cleaned out everything from Montreal. So I was paying for 2 storage lockers at that time to house my junk. And I think it was around $500 a month for those 2 lockers. Eventually, I ended up donating pretty much everything in those lockers. I brought 5 or 6 suitcases back to my hometown out of 2 storage lockers worth of stuff. And now I can pretty much fit everything. I mean, I did fit everything that I owned into one of those U-Haul boxes. But that's because I have furniture now. But like, for example, if I was going to move abroad again, I would be able to sell the 3 pieces of furniture that I own and then pack everything else into suitcases, which is like knowing that I don't have like a breadcrumb trail of stuff that I have to bring with me if I decide to move on a whim. It's like, for me personally, I get that this is like not a universal feeling necessarily, but for me, that is like the most freeing thing. It feels like, I don't know, I'm not going to pick up and move anytime soon, but having the opportunity to do that and not have to deal with like a ton of stuff, like the the cost of having a ton of stuff, the emotional cost of having a ton of stuff, it's just truly the most freeing feeling. And I'm really, really grateful that I was able to declutter to the extent that I did. Yeah, I really recommend it. Honestly, like if you have been feeling like you want to declutter, not even like live minimally, but just kind of like live more intentionally with less stuff, I highly recommend it. Like it really changed me in ways that I couldn't have predicted, especially with the kind of feeling of freedom, the feeling of having more flexible finances, and also the confidence that came with doing something I thought I would never be able to do. Like I said, it's been like 3 or 4 years since I did that massive declutter, and I've been living as a minimalist since. And those kind of lessons and takeaways, they still stick with me now. But yeah, I recommend it. And I hope that this video maybe inspired you to declutter or be more intentional with your stuff. But yeah, if you watched this far in the video, thank you so much as always for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.